Hi there, this is Clovis from kinematiclab.com. Welcome to this second Dorito tutorial. We're going to concentrate on the face for this one and see more in depth what we can do. So let's add a new Dorito modifier. Okay, and now we are going to try to enhance this rig. So for now, well, it can do a lot of things, but maybe there are some areas that we wanted to correct or just deform the whole head or do anything from it. So I'm going to add a new Dorito helper and I'm going to stick it around here. Okay, now it's a bit too big, so I'm going to change its size, right? And I can rename it here. Okay, so I can say chick left, for example, and I'm going to change here the distance value to something like that maybe, and test it to see if it does what I need. Okay, it's a bit too large, so I'm going to adjust the distance and maybe the is value as well. Okay, so I can deform this cheek. Okay, make it bigger, smaller, inside, outside, because I don't really have this in my rig for now. So I'm adding it with this Dorito modifier. I'm going to add another one on the other side. Okay, and replicate the same values. Okay, so I have pretty much the same thing. Right. Okay, so now we will see that you know that it deforms. You know, it follows the mesh deformation. So when I move my jaw here, my Dorito helpers are following the geometry. And if I animate, if I just change their transform, you will see that the deformations are correct as well. Okay, and on anything on the rig, it's going to work. Okay, fun. It works. Now, so you see that you can add more and more helpers here. There is something you need to think about is the hierarchy of those helpers. So for now, these two soft selections doesn't really, they don't cross each other, okay? But what if I added another one which is bigger, for example, just around the mouth, like that. Okay, I'm going to make my selection myself, so I'm going to use the to stack button here and select some vertices around the mouth. Okay, grow it a bit, change the fall off so it can affect a bit more around the mouth and go on the same area as this one. Then I go back to the Dorito modifier and press from stack to get the selection from the stack. Okay. So now when I move this one, it is moving this this part, okay, and this is also moving, okay, a bit the same area here. You can see when I travel across these weights, you can see this part is kind of similar, okay. So what is happening right now is the cheek left is calculated first, then cheek right, then this one. So normally when I move this, it should move these helpers as this this mesh part is moving as well. So to do that, you need to move this this one, which I should call mouth, okay, up, okay, so it can be first in the calculation. So now when I move it, you see that the other ones are deforming, I mean they are moving as well with geometry, which is a lot better, because if we wanted to scale it, for example, they wouldn't disappear inside the mesh. It would still work, but it is easier to work like that, okay. So you can do things that the rig can't, actually, or it would make a pretty complicated rig. So the thing is, if you're an animator, you can just grab any rig, okay, and add this just on the parts that you need to correct from a shot, for example. Okay, so now let's see another example. So in this new scene I have the animation, this one, and you can notice in here that there is no rig, okay? It is just the point cache which animates my mesh, okay? I have nothing else in my scene, really this, and we're going to try to modify the animation that is being cached, okay? So change the limbs rotation, change the animation that has been baked, which is super useful. So I'm going to add the Dorito modifier, okay, and let's say that we would like to change the rotation of this arm, okay. Well, first let's try without Dorito. Let's try with an edit poly, for example. You will see why Dorito is interesting in this case. Okay, so in my edit poly I'm going to move this. So first, it's not really easy to place and rotate, right? But then when you play the animation, you see that there are strange things happening, okay, because the deformation you apply on the edit poly doesn't really care about the underlying deformations, okay. So the translations and rotation I did happen in world space instead of the mesh space, so which makes it really wrong sometimes. So let's delete this and going back to Dorito. So now I'm going to create a helper here, okay. So I'm press the plus button, click and drag right here, and I'm pressing shift to project this inside the mesh, okay, where the joint should be, more or less. Alright. Now the second thing I should do is change a bit the transformation of this helper so I can align it a bit better with the arm, okay, so it's going to be easier to animate. Perfect. And now I'm going to make a selection, okay, with this the two stack option. I'm changing the file of right here, and well, it should be okay for now. We're going back to Dorito, press from stack, and it converts the selection to the Dorito helper. So now you see that nothing has changed. Okay, right? Dorito isn't animated or hasn't changed its transforms. Okay, if I remove this, nothing changed. But I can right now do this. Okay, of course, because I lower the arm, it's going to make it rotate inside. So let's do this instead, for example. Okay, I'll play the animation. You see that everything is kept correctly. There is no volume loss or already anything. Okay, or any animation loss as well. Okay, just the arm has been raised. Okay, but now let's really change the animation of this. So I'm going to reset it and start keyframing it. Okay, so I don't like this pose, for example. I would prefer it to be here. Okay. And so of course it is changing something here, so I can reset it. Okay. So there's just this part of the animation which is affected, and then it's going back to normal. Okay, I don't like this angle as well, so I'm going to change it, move it around. Okay, so I changed the animation of the whole arm. Now let's add another helper for the forearm. So I will add a new Dorito helper, press Shift to place it in the middle of the geometry. Okay. Now I will capture transform to modify its transformation to align it to the arm. Okay. Great. Change its size a bit. And now I'm going to a place where it's easy to do my selection. I'm using the two stack option again. Yeah, of course. Something like that should be okay. So I press from stack and my selection is saved. So now you see that if I change this animation, okay, this one, because it is next in the list, okay, is going to be affected correctly. And I can do that. Okay, I can really change this arm animation, okay, from what it was baked. Okay, so here, of course, it shouldn't do that, so I can reset it. I can just apply it where I need, so really on this pose, okay, and then I reset it. So if I disable the Dorito modifier, you see that I completely changed the arm animation, okay, this angle and this one, and I can go on and do that along the animation. Of course, you can do also some pretty fun deformations. Okay, you can really scale stretch and, well, anything, as it's going to work perfectly well. We can make another example on the head, for example here, and we can deform the whole head by adding a new one here. I'm going to quickly change its rotation like that, and we are going to make a selection. Okay, so we can easily squash and stretch the head, and then press from stack, and that's it. Now you can do whatever you want to this face. And the animation is going to work perfectly. You see, even the face animation that I did still does funny things, and that's cool. So I think that's it. One last thing to see is if I delete the Dorito modifier completely, okay, like that, it's going to delete all the Dorito helpers, which has no reason to be there anymore. Okay, they are really tied to the modifier. Yeah, that's it. I hope you liked it. Bye bye.